Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Bahashibra Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us His truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word of truth and its sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua, back with the WW3 Daily update. We're going to start right here, Revelation 2 and 10. All right. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, who is a man, shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. That's just a number of dispensation of time. Be thou faithful until death, and I will give thee a crown of life. What is being spoken of here? Okay. All right. Well, first of all, you're a POW. Now, you don't have shackles and a yoke around your neck at this moment, but you're still a POW right here in Babylon the Great. And when I say you, I'm talking about you Jakes, you Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. You're on the res, you're in the barrio, you're in the ghetto. All right? And the definition of the ghetto is where the Jews live. Okay? Check that out. All right? Read this again. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, who is your adversary, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, figure it out, shall cast some of you into prison camps, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful until death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Prison camp. When did they have prison camps? Go back to Nazi Germany, right? They have prison camps, concentration camps, right? What's the definition of POW? Prisoner of war, right? POW, this is Wikipedia. POW, prisoner of war, a person, whether a civilian or combatant, who is held in custody by an enemy power during or immediately after an armed conflict. Okay? Got that? All right, so let's move on. All right? Because is there not an armed conflict going on that America is involved in? Yes, there is. Okay, so this is indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, March 29th. Was that yesterday? Okay, so this reads, non-white Ukrainian refugees sent to what? Detention centers, POW camps, concentration camps, FEMA camps, if you will. Let's watch this.
There's a new report released that found that dozens of non-white Ukrainian residents who fled the conflict are now being held in long-term detention facilities in Poland and Estonia. Yeah, and some of them are being held 3 weeks or more. Here's a picture of what those detention camps are looking like. They're not pretty at all.
Look at this. See which way the barbed wire is going? We're on the outside here. That's the inside, so they're holding them in. And let's go back to Nazi Germany. Well, don't they say that, what did Vlad say? That they're fighting the Nazis in Ukraine? Well, who are they putting in the concentration camps?
And that photo comes to us courtesy of a joint investigation conducted by Lighthouse Reports, independent UK, and other journalism outlets. And the experiences, in these camps, they're being documented and they are harrowing. What we know is that one of the students said that they were stopped by officials as they crossed the border and were given no choice but to sign a document they did not understand before they were then taken to the camp. They did not know how long they'd be held there.
Now, wait. So somebody then went up into the camp and held this interview. All right? Listen to the language.
There's a 29-year-old black man from Nigeria who was studying in Ukraine before fleeing, and he said this. He says his phone was confiscated by Polish border guards, and he was given no option but to sign a form he did not understand. It was written in Polish. I didn't know what I was signing. I said I wouldn't sign, but they insisted I sign it, and that if not, I would go to jail for 5 months. The student said he was then taken to court where there was no interpreter to translate what was being said so that he could understand, and then taken to a detention center in a small village in what I believe is Lesnalio. Now, there's another student as well who described their ordeal right now, and they described that to an activist. He had said, my mental health, I'm just scared. We escaped Ukraine. It was very, very horrible experience. And you know, it's the most biggest risk of my life. Now we are under detention. At the beginning, I thought I was being kidnapped. This really shakes me to the core, thinking these individuals who are fleeing conflict and a war that they had nothing to do with at all. And as a result of the color of their skin, they are not being treated like everyone else. And
who is the target in this war? Okay, if you don't know what's going on, all right, guess what? The children of Israel are the target in this war. Make no bones about it. The true Jews, if you will. Be not deceived.
They're being put in these detention camps, feeling like they're being kidnapped, not getting the information that they need, and also not having access to the outside world. Apparently, it's been said that they could submit or they could send emails to communicate, but that's not even consistent.
Real quick, I read Revelation 2 and 10. Let's read 2 and 9. Okay, this is what I read. All right, fear none of those things which thou, who is thou, shall suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. You see that going on. Some of you. Who is some of you? Well, let's read 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, you Jews, but thou art rich, you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Then we go into the concentration camps. Okay, so who is this talking to? I know thy works, tribulation, and poverty. Well, who's on the rest? Who's in the ghetto? Who's in the barrio? The Jews. Who are they locking up? The Jews. You got people saying they're Jews and are not. Okay? Guess what? Revelation 3 and 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee, the real Jews. Who are they locking up?
This is very, very upsetting. And also, we know that this is going on despite an EU protection directive that was issued on March 4th. And it stated that any kind of third country national studying or working, living in Ukraine should be admitted to the EU temporarily on humanitarian grounds. And this directive also is supposed to help refugees fleeing the invasion to stay in whatever country they end up in for at least a year and to have access to education as well as to work while they're there. And also, as the Independent UK notes, This EU directive states that it also applies to nationals of third countries other than Ukraine residing legally in Ukraine who are unable to return in safe and durable conditions to their country or region of origin.
What's really going on? What is this war really about? Because they're letting the other Ukrainians, oh, well, they're refugees. We got a place for you right over here. We're going to bring how many of you into Babylon the Great, America?
And so, what is the reasoning? What is the excuse? Well, I can tell you that in a letter to a member of the EU Parliament in mid March, Polish border police, this is a letter here, confirmed that they're holding at least 52 third country nationals. You may not be able to read this letter because it's, in Polish, but hey, I could tell you basically what it says. The letter stated that this detention was necessary to carry out administrative proceedings for granting international protection or issuing a decision on obliging a foreigner to return. A spokesperson for the Polish border force said it couldn't give any detail about the procedures on foreigners because of the protection on personal data, adding that it is the court which takes the decision each time to place people in guarded centers for foreigners. And there are a number of African embassies out there in Poland who are also wondering why their nationals are being detained given this directive, and they're trying to work on their release. This sounds completely fishy given that it seems that the only people being held here are Black and brown. So, Ravana, how does this sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, first, the fact that they're saying that the courts are making these decisions, but now we know that the courts aren't even having interpreters for these, third-party nationals. That's not justice by any stretch of the imagination. And this is disgusting and racist and horrific, but it's not surprising given Poland's treatment of particularly Middle Eastern refugees. I mean, this is a country that was constructing a 16-foot tall border wall on their wall or their border with Belarus to try to keep out, predominantly Middle Eastern refugees. This is a country that allowed Kurdish refugees to freeze to death outside its border while they were waiting to get in. Their track record is not great. And I think, a lot of us who are American, we talk about the disgusting nature of our immigration system, but it's not uniquely disgusting. I mean, Europe has a massive immigration problem, and it's not of immigrants coming into the countries. It's the treatment of immigrants, the treatment of refugees, the treatment of asylum seekers. And this is not to say that I think by any stretch of the imagination that the white Ukrainians should be treated worse.
Speaking of the American borders, who are they keeping out down there on the Mexican border? The tribe of Issachar. Got it? All right, so that's enough on that. Let's get something right here. Let's get 2nd Ezra 15. and 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Is that not what we see right here? We did show you right here where they're being locked up, did we not? No? Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into. How are we pulling this off of? And who are these Jews? Okay? What's really going on over here? What's going on? King James, let's see. Let's look at the curses. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 45. Moreover, all these curses, what curses? Well, we'll look at a couple to determine, shall come upon thee. Who is thee? The true Jews, the Israelites. This is how you're able to find out who they are. Okay. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and statutes which he commanded thee. So we didn't keep the commandments, so the curses came upon us. And they're still on us. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So they're still on us. What curses? Well, let's look. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore, thou shalt serve thine enemies. Serve who? Your enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, in the ghetto, in the barrio, on the rest, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall do what? And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Well, wait a minute. That happened to the Jews? That happened to Israelites from the tribe of Judah? Where can we find that? Yoke of iron. Wait a minute. You mean these are the Jews? These are God's chosen people? The Israelites? You mean what it said in the Bible was going to happen to them actually happened to them? Huh? The Native Americans? Wait a minute, what's this? What's that? You mean this actually went down? Wait a minute. How do you find out who the Israelites, God's chosen, who he put the curses on? How do you find out who they are? Look at Kunta. These are not Africans. They want you to believe they're Africans. These are not the Africans. God said he's going to do this to his people, the nation of Israel. And he shall put a yoke of iron. Who? Your enemies. Shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Right? What you do to God's people? What's going on here? Right? Is this not what happened to Jesus? Look at this. Is this not what happened to Jesus? So-called Jesus, whose name is Yahweh. Let's find out. Let's find out what happened. The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. What color was Jesus? The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. What color was Jesus? Well, he had to look like this, because this is symbolic. Okay? Are these not prisoners of war? These are prisoners. Servants are prisoners of war. You put them to work, don't you? What do you do in the internment camps? What's going on in the jail right now? Not just pressing license plates. Hey, slavery is legal if you're incarcerated. Did you know that? Under the 13th Amendment. POW, prisoner of war. a person, whether civilian or combatant, who is held in custody by an enemy power during or immediately after an armed conflict. Well, our armed conflict was in 70 AD, the Roman Jewish Wars, okay, where we had to flee for our lives. We ran down into Africa, right? Right after Masada, we lost. We became POWs, and we're POWs to this day, all right? So anyway, detention centers. All right, so that'll end it for today. This is the World War III Daily Update. Hey, guess what? In war, you have POWs, do you not? All right, we hope that the elect were edified, and with that, shalom.